Like I want that layer of relationship. And so if I'm going to take a step back from the intensity of a 3-star Michelin restaurant, I'm kind of going to bring a little level of that into our family life. And so I want them to know that energy in equals success out.
Yeah.
If you attach that with a whole lot of other things, right? So if that energy is focused, if that energy is resilient, if that energy is deep, if that energy is directed towards the things you don't like as well as the things that you do like, then there's the potential for success to come.
Going to a place like Marmellata, you guys deserve your own 3-star Michelin restaurant for the taste, the experience, the food, and what comes to provide. And I think that you hit it right on the head that, from the outside, somebody might just say bakery or pizzeria or whatever it is, but there's a lot of intensity that goes behind it so that you have the lines outside the door, people coming in day in and day out, right? So it's sort of like those things, and it's just a commitment to you and your team to have built something from the ground up that's spoke about not just in the country, but also regionally and hopefully globally.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. But we were the first of our friends to have kids, and I was working as a sculptor, so we had really thoughtful, thinker, artistic friends. And the first of our kids, and I was out with our friends, and they're like, so what's it like philosophically? What's it like to be a dad? Like, and I was like, it's really freaking tiring. Like, you're tired. Like, you don't sleep. And so I feel like, to your point, you give birth to a baby business. And people are so obsessed with giving birth to full-grown businesses. Like, you try to convince your girlfriend or wife to give birth to a teenager, it ain't gonna happen. So why do you impose that on business? You give birth to a baby business. And those first years of your baby business, you gotta be there. You know what I mean? And it's not that you wouldn't choose to be anywhere. You wouldn't want to be anywhere else. You wouldn't give those years up for anything because there's so much richness in those years.
Let's flat out. Big teams, big boys, alright? My highs and lows inherit growth, Mr. Deeds. Went from juggling 3 jobs to CEO like I'm Steve. Never been a rotten apple, call me John Appleseed. That's how I bleed. God can see no other man can judge me. Call him Mike, Mr. International, getting cream. Single mother told me worth, and now I'm worth everything. Went from Wall Street to Abu Dhabi, straight rolling in a Maserati with women that feel exotic. My life too pristine.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement.
What's going on, man?
Flat out.
Welcome to the Last Flight Out podcast. We're your hosts, Mike and Jay. Hit that like button, hit that share button, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And give us a follow across all of our social media channels where we can be found at Last Flight Out Podcast. I'm your host, Jay. You can find me at JLubriel26 across all of my social media platforms, and you can follow Mike at...
If Mike was here.
Okay. What if
Mike,
one
you
night...
are here, man. What are you talking about? You're a game in me already.
True. Well, that ruined the surprise. But anyway, what if one night a week with no menu, no marketing, no plan, turned into one of the Middle East's most talked about restaurants? Today, we're sitting with Dagstani, the man behind Marmellata, a pizzeria that started as a father-son side project and grew into a regional institution. So thank you for coming on to the show today.
It's a pleasure.
Really much appreciated.
Thank you, brother.
For those of you who don't know, you need to come to Marmellata because as a New Yorker, it does...
It gets the stamp of approval.
It gets the stamp of approval. I can actually talk about pizza and say that is the best slice of pizza I've had in the region, not just in the country. So thanks again for getting us in, dedicating your time to us today. Before we start the interview, Mike is going to go ahead and give you a word association and the first thing that comes to your mind.
Yep. So let's start off with family.
Family. Martine. Easy.
Martine?
Martine's my wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there has to be a little more explanation. Yeah. Sometimes I'm like,
damn, boom. Yeah, family's everything, man. Like that's why that's I don't know if that was intentional.
Yeah.
But that's the point of Marmellata.
Yeah.
It's where we started and it's where we've become, right? Yeah. So it's a family you were born into, which is my private family. Martine, my sons Emil and Sebastian, and then it's a family that we've built along the way. So 6 years later, I still think of us as a family, but now there's 30 of us that are like building our restaurants together. But very much the spirit of our restaurants is family, and it's the essence of why I chose what to do. And you see, you're gonna get me talking too much, man.
No, it's all good. This is what we're here, man. Your story
Last
is
Flight Out
interesting,
is like about the pivot in my head.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And a large part of our pivot as a family was about being a family. So I used to run big restaurants in New York, and then I took a step back to raise a family, hedging my bets that when the time came and the boys were old enough, I could step back into the industry and still have an impact. So it's really relevant to your podcast as well, which is a nice tie-in. Thank you for that.
Yeah, definitely. And so your background is half Iraqi, half British, but raised in New York.
Yeah.
How did that influence you in your food? I know family's a big thing, but can you dive even deeper?
Confusion.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's what do they call? Like our kids are called third culture kids, right? So the generation before them, we were living that life without a moniker. So Dad was an immigrant. My father's father was the chief of police of Baghdad. So he was there when Saddam was coming into power. My father was protesting against Saddam. He got shot in the head with a rubber bullet from the police. So his dad said, this can't happen, right? Because I'm the chief of police, and this can't happen because you're my kid. So he sends him to London to study. He meets a farm girl from the north. They make a family. They immigrate to New York. We went back twice as kids. We slept on the roof. We played football in our pajamas. It was an amazing time. And Dad, he in many ways regretted leaving his whole life, and he never made it back to live. So he's no longer with us. 2 years ago, he died. God bless his soul. Yeah, it's all good. But I think he would have loved to see what came of it, because our restaurant, our lives, it's very much an international picture. And that third culture kid idea is very much, it's a part of the modern world. It's all a big mashup today.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Where in New York, if you don't mind me asking?
Manhattan.
Manhattan. Where in Manhattan?
Upper East Side, Lower East Side.
Oh,
we lived in Greenpoint. We lived in Williamsburg.
Before it was Williamsburg and Greenpoint.
Exactly. Right.
What were your first?
When it was cheap rent.
When it was cheap rent, you could actually go there. Nobody wanted to live there at the time. Yeah. What were some of the earliest memories you had of cooking? Obviously you're in the restaurant industry. You worked in the restaurant industry before you came to the UAE. What were your first early memories of just? I
didn't a lot of restaurant people have that story.
Yeah.
My story as it relates to food is really a love story, because I worked in restaurants, but I worked in the dining room, and I was in between jobs, and there was a girl that I was crazy about. I ended up marrying her, remember, Martine? And so I was in between jobs, and I decided that I wanted to impress this girl. And so I would go to the bookstore, right, Barnes & Noble, and I would just read books. And I would read all the books, and I'd build a 4 or 5 course menu, and then I'd spend the day shopping. And so I got to know the city by reading cookbooks and then navigating stores and shops and recipes and cooking to impress this girl who became my wife. So obviously the cooking landed all right.
A man who cooks, that's a great attribute. Exactly.
Right, that's good.
And for those who don't know, Barnes & Noble used to be a brick and mortar bookstore.
That's
we have some younger listeners that are like, what's a Barnes & Noble?
Yeah, that's right. It was the bookstore.
It was the bookstore next to Tower Records.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
And in your time in New York, when you worked at these big restaurants, what did you learn there? What did you take away from that?
Yeah, that's a tough question, man. At some level, everything's the same and everything's different. And so at the best of places, there's just more complexity. There's more layers. But if you individualize any one of those layers and you envelop it in the pursuit of perfection or of high quality or of the best you can do today, then I think you achieve the same thing. So at a pizzeria like Marmellata, you're doing one thing, right? You're doing pizza. And in our case, we do 5 different pizza. But our intentionality is as great as a 3-star Michelin restaurant, except there's only one thing. And in a 3-star Michelin restaurant, there's 37 things. And each one of those 37 things has 37 components. And those 30, so you can drill into it infinitely. Yeah. But if you reduce it to the one, it's very, very similar. And so I think until working in those restaurants, the illusion from the outside is that they're operating somehow different. And it isn't different. It's just more of the same. But if you're born into the world of intensity, you're already practicing those things, but just on a more singular level.
Yeah, I think look, as a person who's gone to these fine dining establishments, especially in a place like New York, I can't imagine the intensity that's going on behind those doors, because it's just the expectation. Obviously, they're outrageously expensive, right? Just for a normal person to go to these things. And sometimes, like we said off camera, going to a place like Marmellata, you guys deserve your own 3-star Michelin restaurant for the taste, the experience, the food, and what comes to provide. And I think that you hit it right on the head that, from the outside, somebody might just say bakery or pizzeria or whatever it is, but there's a lot of intensity that goes behind it, so that you have the lines outside the door, people coming in day in and day out, right? So it's sort of like those things, and it's just a commitment to you and your team to have built something from the ground up that's spoke about not just in the country, but also regionally and hopefully globally.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And you feel that that intent of family with everyone, not just you. And you're there every time I went. You're there greeting people and hanging out and talking. But with the whole staff, everyone's like that. And particularly in this region, you don't get that.
Right.
You know, a lot of the staff I feel like are robots that don't have a personality.
Right.
But I think in Marmellata, like there's that personality. You feel like you're at home. So,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
We absolutely empower people to be themselves, you know, and we believe in the power of people as individuals.
Yeah.
And you can feel that. And so if you're having some restaurants, if you have a really bad meal, they're going to come around to you. They're going to say, that was a really bad, like something went terribly wrong and I'm angry. And someone's going to say, yeah, here's a free pizza. Come back again. We're really sorry. If you said that to us, we're going to say, yeah, I'm really sorry. Let's figure out what happened. Let's fix it. Let's not happen again. But if you come and you say, excuse me, we had the best time ever, and this is my husband, and it's the first time he's having pizza, and he will religiously come here for the rest of the week, we would say, here's a free pizza, come back again. You know what I mean? So we encourage people who get what we do and dig. And so it makes it easier for our team and for ourselves to be happy about what we do because we're surrounded by people that love us.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
What, you know, raised in New York, and, you know, I think in order to appreciate Marmellata for what it is today, we have to start back. What inspired that move from the States?
Goddamn love again, man.
But to the UAE.
Yeah, it's my wife. My wife's job. My wife's a physician, so we came here when the Cleveland Clinic opened. We came here 14 years ago when the Cleveland Clinic opened, right? And then we opened Marmellata because our kids are growing up in this country, and I want them to work. And there weren't after-school jobs, and I feel like working is it's important. It's an ethic that has to happen. So we opened Marmellata in an effort for our kids to have an after-school job.
What were you trying to teach your kids in order to have that?
I was being selfish as a dad. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I want that layer of relationship. And so if I'm going to take a step back from the intensity of a 3-star Michelin restaurant, I'm kind of going to bring a little level of that into our family life. And so I want them to know that energy in equals success out.
Yeah.
If you attach that with a whole lot of other things, right? So if that energy is focused, if that energy is resilient, if that energy is deep, if that energy is directed towards the things you don't like as well as the things that you do like, then, you know, there's the potential for success to come. But if it isn't universal, it doesn't come. So this was that. Like we rented a storage shed with no water, no electricity, and we put in the water. So they did all that. We put in the water, we put in electricity, we put in the windows, and we opened one night a week. And so you came to work and there was a hustle. And there was no menu. We just did what we did. So there was an individuality even then. But people were excited by it because the quality of the ingredients was high. So we rented a cheap place, and instead of putting the money in our pocket, we put it into high-quality ingredients. And the bet was the people who live here are experts in whatever they do. People that live here are really good at what they do. Like either they're really good at it here and they've traveled and they've tasted the real thing, or they're good at what they do from somewhere else, and so they've been imported for their talent. So you have the privilege of cooking for titans of industry, whatever their industry is. And we took that threshold and I passed it on to them and they stepped up to it. So
nice. That's good. And then what, I guess, was it just a natural evolution of, okay, this is just one night a week, so hey, the demand is here, let's expand.
Yeah, because we're practicing hospitality and it's like you start disappointing people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then you reach this hill and it's like, you know, the other side is greater than the one we've traversed. We're selling more disappointment than we are pizza. So we've got to open another night. Yeah. And then we've got to open 3. And then you've got to hire someone, right, eventually.
Yeah.
And so then it's like now you're responsible for this human being and for the human beings that this person's responsible for. Yep. So then it becomes bigger than yourself. So you're participating in the growth of the city and the growth of the country and the growth of our industry. And, you know, we're also carrying the DNA of like the New York pizzeria. Yeah. So like our responsibility is to those guys that have been doing it for a long time in Italy and in New York. And I pass that to my kids so that they can, you know, they feel part of a community of cooks.
Going off script for a little bit, how do you make that dough? Like, do you import the water from New York?
Because, that's nonsense,
like, because I remember. I remember. I don't know. We got to break the rules. But I remember going into the restaurant. I was with Mike, and I was with somebody else at that point, and I tasted it, and I was like, all right, there's a lot of expectations here. I was like, I've never had, like, I'm a big critic of New York City pizza, and I took that first bite, and I was like, this guy's got to be importing the water from New York. I swear that was the first thing I said. I was like, this guy's got to be importing the water from New York because for me, pizza is about the dough.
Right.
About the dough. We talked about, you can get the tomato sauce, you can get the ingredients high quality, but it's something about that dough that's just like, this is a New York slice of pizza. What goes into it? I just need to know.
Yeah, I agree with you, first of all, on a lot of different things. For one, that's what New Yorkers like to tell you, or somebody likes to tell you, right? Because you can't get it. They know you can't get the water. So that eliminates the argument. You can't even play. You're not even in the arena, but it's not true. It's craftsmanship, right? So I can give you a list of ingredients, and you can buy the tomatoes, you can buy the cheese, you can buy the flour, you can buy the salt, you can use bottled water, you know what I mean? But you can't buy the craftsmanship. You can't make up for the time invested in the craft. You can't make up for a level of participation. That's just time invested in it, in whatever that that you do. So when people talk about consistency, it's not about consistent failure. It's about consistently getting up and doing it again. We had a lot of nights at home making pizza where it was bad. It was bad. I mean, it was Friday night. It was a Friday night pizza. And it was like, Dad, are we going to have pizza tonight? Because we didn't know if dough was going to work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I loved it. I love pizza. Like, I love pizza and I love bread and I love making things. And, before food, it was art. So I studied sculpture at the Art Students League in New York.
Okay.
Right. So I worked as a sculptor. And so working with my hands was something that I have an affinity for. And I feel like your hands have a knowledge of their own. Like your head and your heart have a knowledge, but your hand also has a knowledge. And so a lot of it is just time with your hands, like getting comfortable, letting them do their thing.
And at what point, driving it back to the story, going from 1 night to 3 nights to 5 nights a week, at what point did you think to yourself, like, okay, this is way more than a side project. This is actually like
that's a good question.
A big business now, and I need to go back into that maybe 5-day-a-week intensity. At what point? What was that point where you were like, okay, this is something bigger than just a family project?
Yeah. So we were 1 night a week, and then COVID came. We were 1 night a week. There was no menu. We go to the market. We buy a bunch of things. We make a bunch of pizza. People started showing up. They waited in line. By the time you get to the front, you don't know what you're going to get because there's no menu. And it was random. And so people like pepperoni, but there's no more pepperoni.
Just sold it to
it was by the slice, and it was square pies, Roman style, because no one was doing Roman style. And so I was like, it's a blank canvas. You can do whatever you want. It's all about the dough is really important with Roman style. So, and it's really difficult dough because there's a lot of water in it. So it's a very, very challenging dough. So I was like, all right, we'll start with the highest level of difficulty and we'll scale back. So we did it by the slice, and it was 10 dirham a slice. It didn't matter what the slice was, and you didn't know what you're going to get. So there was goose, there was pepperoni, there was duck, there was vegetables. It was crazy.
Why wasn't I there?
But you had no idea what you're going to get. So it was like it was, and it wasn't intentional. It was just we were just making pizza, thinking people were going to come around, and then it got busier. So then COVID came, and also it had to be said that it was just me and Sebastian at that point. So there's 2 of us. So there'd be a line of people, and you get to the front, there's me and a 13-year-old kid. He was 13. And people were like, well, but why don't you hire more people? I was like, because it's not the point. The point wasn't selling things. The point was a relationship with my kid and for him to work and to feel the intensity. And it turned out that he was really good at it. So like my wife's a physician, but if she were a emergency medical doctor, you'd discover that in a restaurant because a restaurant's really dynamic and it's pressure filled and there's people on the other side. It's really, so he turns out to be really good with people. You know what I mean? So it just made sense. So then COVID came, we went online. So we built a website. One of the things that we keyed in on was we had a line of people. And people tell you in the Emirates, nobody lines up for anything. Like people aren't going to line up. People don't stand in line. Yeah. It's hot. It's uncomfortable. People are like luxury. We think luxury is the product. Anyway, people lined up. We were like, how do we recreate the line online? And so we built a website and we had people vote. And we said, we switched from pizza to focaccia. Because if we put a pizza in the box, you take it out, it's different. If I put a focaccia in the box, you take out the same thing. Yeah. So we're going to do focaccia. We're thinking about these 10 things. You vote on them in an effort to make people have a conversation. Yeah. So then people would vote. So we had this game that happened every week. We're thinking about these 10 things. Okay, these are the 4 ones. We're going to do these 4. We'd open the website at 10 in the morning with these 4 focaccia, and it would sell out in 10 minutes.
It's like a sneaker drop.
It was like a sneaker drop, right?
It brings a sense of community because you 100%,
feel like you're 100%. And that was the point.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because we were all stuck at home. So we wanted something that kept us together. So then you went online, you bought the focaccia, and you bought a time slot. So then you came one by one and you picked up from us. So we could still be a restaurant because we spent 10 minutes with each person.
Yeah.
That's actually very powerful what you were talking about because you were able to play with the idea of the business because you originally started it not as a money-making scheme, but as a way for you to connect with your son.
Right.
So obviously the profits come thereafter, no notoriety,
right.
But I think it's very important when you jump into these things, into any project, whether it's making a pizza, podcast, whatever business, that you go into it for the right intention. And it seems like that's the reason why you're so successful and you kept your success through the pandemic because now you're adjusting 10 toes to what the environment is rather than being forced to do things because of the profit.
Absolutely.
Right? And that speaks to the testament of, it's essentially all about the family, right? And that is the fundamental core of what Marmellata is today. And that's the reason why it's thrived through having the community of people that would vote 4 times a week or once a week on 4 items. Yeah. And how did that go? Like, what did that make you realize going through that sort of tough time in the pandemic? How did that change when things started opening up again?
Yeah, it was amazing because we wouldn't have expected that. So the website opens at 10 in the morning. We're sold out by 10:10 because you can't see. So you think you're like chilling at home having a coffee. You're like, should we have tomato or olives? And then you're like, tomato, sold out. Oh, no, olives, sold out. Gone. So you can't see. You're by yourself. But we would switch tabs, and there'd be 150 people like online, but you can't see it when you're just on yours. And so then eventually we would sell out by 10:10, and then I'm on the phone from 10 until 11 o'clock. You know, I was waiting and it gets sold out. I'm really sorry. I'll hold one for you next week. And then the next week it's 10 until 12. And it was like I was on the phone from 10:15 to 1 o'clock. You know what I mean? Apologizing and saying I'll save you on. So then I was like, you know what? This is that point of inflection where we're selling more disappointment than we are, and eventually people are going to flip. It's no longer fun. And we got to the point where people would buy the focaccia. They'd be the first ones in line. They'd buy it and they wouldn't pick it up.
Oh,
You know, so it was like gamified. It was just like I just want to. I want to be the guy who gets it. You know what I mean? So then I was like, I don't want to do that. Like I don't want to cook for people who don't want to eat. Like you stop being a restaurant. So then we just said, okay, halas. Next week is our last week. We closed. Like I don't want to be that restaurant.
You closed.
So we said that's it. We're done. Like
really?
yeah. So we just closed.
What was the reaction to that?
It was great. It was amazing. Everybody came out. We had a party. We popped bottles. People bought flowers. I mean, it was a heartwarming community expression. Yeah. And then I thought, you know, we'll go find something else. We'll do something else. We'll open a pizzeria. We'll do whatever it is. And then Aldar bought all that property. So then it wasn't a park like it's now. It's really pretty.
I was going to mention it. Like the souk back in the day, it wasn't how it is
No.
now. So even for you to get a line out there, and we got to get some visuals when we show this. But,
yeah, right.
If we could find it. But I remember I used to even jet ski over there, and they
That's
had
right.
the whole fish markets. And it was really like just come park
It was raw.
wherever.
Yeah, it was super raw.
Yeah.
I remember when I was living here, people would talk about the old. You've been here for a long time, so I saw it what it is now, more or less.
Yeah.
But I heard stories that people weren't lining up for anything out there.
Yeah.
So
Not there. It's just like if you know, you know, and it was probably word of mouth, like that
100%
got in to get people to line up.
Right, 100%.
Yeah.
And then there are two guys who came around, right? Hussein Al Musawi and Hazza Hajeri. And it's because they were cool and they like stumbled upon us. But they were guys who had an audience themselves. And so like Hussein, he's now editor-in-chief maybe, National Geographic, Middle East. But he's a brilliant, brilliant photographer. And so he came out. His wife owns TTMB in Dubai, To the Moon and Back, like the greatest coffee shop. And so she discovers us on Instagram. He comes around and he digs it. He's like, this is good. Like, it's really good. And it's in our backyard and we don't know about it. So he came and he did like a photo shoot himself. So he does these like long form Instagram stories when he goes deep into something. Okay. So he did this beautiful like photo essay about Marmellata back in the day. Wow. And it just like, it spiked. And then Hazza was engineer at Sheikh Zayed Museum way back then, 2019. And so he comes around, there's a shop, there's this weird guy like making something like, what's going on? What are you doing, man? And I say, blah, 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 blah. And he says, that's really neat. So he says, I'm going to leave. I'm going to come back. Tell me again. I'm like, yeah, that's weird. So he leaves. He walks back in, but he's holding his phone. And he says, tell me what you're doing. So I say it again, but this time to the camera, blah, 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 blah. And he turned out to be somebody. So it's like you meet people along the way. Like the restaurant's a passport to the most interesting people, like those two guys. And their interest in us and other people's interest just propelled it forward. But it's a match. It's like what we do and the people that live here, it's a match. And we're by the sea, you know what I mean? So it's the right thing in the right place at the right time. Alhamdulillah, we got lucky.
Yeah. I mean, luck is always a big part of anyone's success for sure. And I'm just curious, we talk about the working alongside your son.
Yeah.
How has that dynamic changed as he's gotten older? And what were some of the things that you wish that was your mission accomplished in terms of what you set out to do when you first started off?
Yeah, very much so. Project? I mean, I didn't realize what I was doing, right? But what I was exposing him to was my failure, my ability to get up, his failure, my ability to be there when he fell down, his ability to be there when I fell down. And so sometimes you don't see that. As a parent, you're on the sidelines and your kid's playing football with his kids and they have a coach, and so you're separated from it. But we had real life situations where I looked bad or I'd have been talked to abusively by somebody because it's a real life situation. So he would see the way I handle that as his parent, as a colleague, as a boss. And for us individually to be able to integrate those different relationships was huge. It was much more than I would have anticipated. But I think it's really important, the idea of our kids being able to see us fail is a really nice thing because we're heroes. You're heroes to your kids. Like, and I don't want to be their heroes to their 8-year-old self. I want to be the hero to their 45-year-old self. Yeah. You know what I mean? All the way through to the end. And so I think so now we have like our older son who started together at the same time. Emil is in London. He works in finance. Nice. He's doing the hustle. He's doing great. But he will call and he will ask about people. You know what I mean? Like we've got friends that are 20 years younger than me and 20 years older than them. So it's really cool that we have this group of friends, this group of peers, of colleagues that are universal to both generations.
Nice, nice.
It's really nice. Yeah.
I would say, what is your most, I guess, memorable moment, whether it's good or bad, that you've had with Marmellata?
Yeah, that's tough. Most memorable moment. There are a bunch of things. Some of them being exterior, right? Like we were voted 29th best restaurant in the Middle East and North Africa. Like, not pizzerias, not UAE, over the span of 19 countries. Like a little neighborhood pizzeria that's able to punch above its weight was huge. It's huge because we have a team of 25, 30 people that are working for us. And those guys, they forfeited their relationships with their kid, and they're committed to my relationship with my kid. You know what I mean? And so I feel like we carry the weight of their families with us. And for them to be able to go back to their families and say, oh, we're 29, like out of how many thousands of restaurants? And we've got 5 pizza on the menu, but we work hard every day. That external validation, which a lot of people, they don't appreciate, or we snob it today, and it's politics, and we're really homegrown, and there's no wasta, and we didn't know anybody in the industry. Like, we built it from the ground up, and together with these 25 people, it's all of ours. It isn't mine, but it's all of ours. And I think it represents our city, and I think it represents those 25 people and the countries that they come from. And so it puts all of us into like the map of what is possible. And the city represents that, If you come here and you put in the hustle, there's a lot of opportunity. So that was a really big thing.
Give us a quick high level overview of what it's like running Marmellata with your staff of 29 people. How does a typical day start, and how does it end? And after everybody leaves, what
right? So I'm weird, right? It's not normal, and I don't recommend it. Mm-hmm. But I'm also really selfish, and so my kid is here for the summer, and he's working.
And before you start, I want to throw in congratulations. You recently just opened Barbassi as well.
Right, exactly.
So you have 2 restaurants now.
Right.
So throw that in there as well.
Right, so Barbassi is named after Sebastian.
Okay.
Right, so his nickname is Bazzi. And so it's a snack bar for Bazzi. And so it's an attempt to lure him back when he's done with his adventuring. So he's now studying hospitality in Switzerland at a really good school, and then he wants to go back to New York, and he wants to work for a stint, and then maybe he comes back here. So we're setting these traps so that he has the ability to come back here. But this is Barbassi is one of those things. And also, we can't do lunch at Marmellata because it's too small, and we're doing prep for dinner. So that space is occupied. So it's lunch and dinner. So for the last 3 months, so his first year at École Hôtelier Lausanne, where he's in school, he has to do a 6-month internship. So he did 3 months in a 2 Michelin star restaurant in Tenerife, and then he did the second 3 months here at Barbassi. And so his shift starts at 6 in the morning, and I bring him to work. So I bring him to work at 6. So for the summer, I would bring him into work at 6 in the morning, and we start at 6 because we bake the bread, we make the sauces, we do it all downstairs. So we make everything. We have service from 11 to 2, and then from 2 to 4, it's cleanup. So we would work service together, and then we do a meeting at the end of that day, and then I run to Marmellata we have a meeting there at 3:40, and then I'm in service there until 9 o'clock. So I would try to leave by 9 o'clock. So we've been in business for 6 years, but this summer I'm still working. I've just scaled back to a 12-hour day. So the day is
just scaled back.
Yeah, scaled back.
What was the day 6 years ago?
There were fewer of them 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
But it was the same. I would go into work at 4 in the morning. You know what I mean? And Sebastian would come after school. Right. So my day was still long and heavy, but still. So I think that's a large part of it. But I love restaurants. Like, I fundamentally love restaurants. And I think it's a lifestyle. And you're born into it. Yeah. But it's a hard thing to associate yourself to if you're not. So my days are full of challenges. It's like you're a professional problem solver, but you don't get to pick the problems. So you think you're going to work on these 6 things, and then you unlock the door, and the key doesn't work. And then when it does work, the chiller is broken, and then your delivery doesn't arrive, and then this guy is sick. So there's 1,000 things. So that either turns you on or it destroys you.
Well, first of all, 2 things. I want to look at the camera. Dad, you need to open a restaurant for me.
I know, creating jobs for your kids.
Creating jobs for your kids. There's a tax break in the U.S. tax code.
There is.
But and then second of all, again, 12-hour plus days it just comes with whatever you like to do. Whether you 100%. Have a passion for it, whether you don't have a passion for it, you want to become successful in anything, whether you're doing it because you want to be with your kid or you want to do it because you want to make a killing, a 12+ hour day is just required. Yeah. That comes with any grind, and I'm so happy that you said that, because I think we're in a culture now where I'm not promoting grinding culture, but I just don't see the way around. I have yet to meet a person that's like, man, I got the secret to get to where you need to get to by working 2 to 3 hours a day. I don't know how that's sustainable. So, I mean, look.
Do you have kids?
I do not have kids.
Do you have kids?
I do not have kids.
So we were the first of our friends to have kids. And I was working as a sculptor. So we had really thoughtful, thinker, artistic friends. And the first of our kids, and I was out with our friends, and they're like, "So what's it like philosophically? What's it like to be a dad?" Like, and I was like, "It's really freaking tiring. Like, you're tired. Like, you don't sleep." And so I feel like, to your point, you give birth to a baby business. And people are so obsessed with giving birth to full-grown businesses. Like, you try to convince your girlfriend or wife to give birth to a teenager, it ain't gonna happen. So why do you impose that on business? You give birth to a baby business. And those first years of your baby business, you got to be there. You know what I mean? And it's not that you wouldn't choose to be anywhere. You wouldn't want to be anywhere else. You know, you wouldn't give those years up for anything because there's so much richness in those years.
Do you miss sometimes the beginning building of something?
Yeah, sometimes.
Okay, yeah.
Sometimes.
I get a lot of from my mentors. They're like, remember these times when you're building something, because when you get bigger, you'll have other problems, but you'll remember, like, damn, I remember those 14, 15-hour days when nobody was clapping for you or anything like that. Like, those are really the days you should be cherishing.
Right.
And those are really the days whether they're going to test whether you're dedicated to something
100%.
or not.
Yeah,
so,
100%.
Yeah. So in terms of your Marmellata, how do you keep, because I see this a lot with not just restaurants, but a lot of other businesses. How do you keep authenticity while trying to scale?
I think you have to know what you want.
Okay.
Right? Because a lot of scaling isn't actually scaling your business, it's scaling their business. Those people who come to you with opportunities, usually it's their opportunity to grow their business, and you're a tool in their tool belt. And so not knowing, which people make the mistake of not knowing what they want. So when I'm saying it's me and my 13-year-old, and we have opportunities coming to us and people saying, I'll give you this restaurant, like, come and operate it. And I say, no, I want to work with my kid. That's what I want. Like, and I'm willing to absorb the consequences of it, for one, and I'm willing to build a financial model that allows for that. So I'm not going to take too big a restaurant. I'm going to take a restaurant that I can open one night a week, and I can still pay my bills. You know what I mean? So I satisfy all the needs. But before restaurants, like being a sculptor, I was carving marble. People say it's a really hard medium. Like, it isn't a hard medium if you know what you're after, right? So if you take a piece of stone and you start searching for the nose in the stone, you're never going to find it. By the time you find it, there'll be no stone left. Right. But if you do the work, which means you draw the nose 1,000 times, and then you model it in clay, and so you can do it, and you can close your eyes, and you can still make a nose out of clay. Then by the time you touch the stone, you're going to know exactly where to hit it. Right? It's the same with restaurants. It's the same with, I think it's the same with any other business. Knowing what you want is the piece that people, they leave out. And when opportunity comes, they're too easy to surrender their dream for someone else's dream. And they may not be the same dream. You know what I mean? I don't want 20 branches. I want to be in business for 20 years. A 20-branch business, it's got nothing to do with me. So it would be in the wrong direction for me to take that opportunity because it's not my opportunity.
That's a good one. I don't want to.
I'm sure I was going to say at the end of this, what? Dubai expansion.
Right.
I'm sure that's
a million times. Yeah. But I want to be in front of people and in front of pizza. I don't want to be in front of spreadsheets, and I don't want to be in front of a steering wheel. You know what I mean? So I know what I want.
Yeah.
I'm older than you guys. Like, I know what I want. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But how did you get to that point? Like, how did you get to the point of, like, this is exactly what I want? There has to have been some trial and error in some other aspect of your life, right? Like, because I think that's what's missing in a lot of people's journeys. Like, they're just running for the sake of running. And something that I spoke about with just, like, my therapist and other people is, what's your North Star? Yeah. Because if you're just running for the sake of running, that's wasted energy, and you might as well just be on the couch doing nothing. Right. Exactly. So I'm wondering, like, what are some of the things in your own life that have gotten you to the point where you're just like, I know what I like.
I think I've probably made a lot of mistakes. I think I have probably done that. I've fallen into that trap with other opportunities and realized along the way that I lost mine surrendering my dream to someone else's became about their dream. And that's not a bad thing. We all need that. Everybody needs support. But eventually you commit to your own. But I can't give you concrete examples of it. But I mean, I ran a 3-star Michelin restaurant, and that wasn't my dream. You know what I mean? I did it to the best of my ability, and I believe I left it better than I found it. And I believe that I was surrounded by people. The biggest difference that made for me individually is I was surrounded by other people like me, right? So when they talk about finding your community or finding your tribe, suddenly I was with 150 people that were as intense as I was. I was soft sometimes compared to the food runners. You know what I mean? Right. So that was a very humbling experience, but it also alerted me to the fact of, I got to know what, eventually I want to do my own thing, whatever that one thing is. I went to film school, right? So I thought I wanted to make film. And when you're in film school, people ask you all the time, what's your film? I didn't have a film. Like, I didn't went to film school because I thought pictures were cool and moving pictures were even cooler. So I didn't have a story, but I was always like, I felt like an outsider because I didn't have a story. You know what I mean? And so eventually I came to my story. And when I had my story, like, this was my film. Now I'm ready to make my movie because I know what my movie is. My movie is this pizzeria down by the sea that's built on family and that extends into the core of the city. And the details become clearer and clearer because you know what the start and you know what the end is going to look like. So filling in the middle is the easier part. 100%.
If you could give a quick overview, I guess, because not being from Abu Dhabi, but coming here and have an idea of starting a business, starting a restaurant, How was that? How was that process? Was it hard to do here? Was it challenging at times, or what was your experience with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard, like you're saying, right? It's universal. I think it's universal. And I think in some ways it's the great equalizer because if you're willing to put in, it's hard, but it's democratically hard. It's hard for everyone. Like we've got local friends, they have a hard time opening a business. We had a hard time opening a business. And I think people make the mistake of saying what's hard is that I'm different and what's different about me makes it hard. It's not, it's universally hard. So once you accept that, you get through it. 6 years ago when we opened Marmellata, I was in the municipality every day for 3 or 4 months. It was the only way I could get it done.
Yeah.
Today we opened Barbassi. It took me 5 hours online. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So was this hard to somebody whose first business was today? They might be like, I spent 5 hours online.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But for me, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Like I did in 5 hours what took me 5 years ago, 5 months to do. Like it's incredible. So we're growing in parallel with the city. But I would say that it's as hard as you want to make it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you think that you referenced before about being by the sea, Abu Dhabi, like that all stars aligning? Do you feel Abu Dhabi is growing globally and it's getting a lot of marketing, it's getting a lot of sort of notoriety just on a global scale? Do you feel like your restaurant and your business would be the same in another location if you had to go somewhere else, or Abu Dhabi presents the best platform for someone who, like yourself, who came all those years ago and then started this business and then being able to grow it and having the community here? Just
Yeah, I feel fundamentally that we're blessed. We're spectacularly blessed. And I'm 100% grateful for that blessing. And I do my best every day to honor it and to give it back and to pay it forward. So if we're busy along the block. We buy flowers from the flower store and we buy ice from Bacala and we buy water from the neighbor and storage space from the neighbor. And we do as much as we can to lift the entire neighborhood, right? I think like I say, we were really lucky it's like the Holy Trinity, the right thing, the right place, the right time. Yeah. And we were, by the grace of God, able to do that. If we were to take that and we were to put it anywhere else in the city, it wouldn't work. And I know that. Like as a restaurant guy, I know that. And I feel like if you come and you don't enjoy the pizza, you're going to enjoy the sea. And if you come and you don't enjoy the pizza or the sea, you're going to enjoy the fact that there's unlimited parking.
They'll enjoy you.
They'll enjoy me. Now they'll enjoy Jerome and Romeo and everybody else. But but there's 1,000 things.
Okay. What's just to break the momentum a little bit. What's your ideal pizza? What's your perfect pizza in your head? Like if you had to,
I like the cheese pizza. I really like a cheese. I like a plain cheese pizza.
Really?
Right, a margarita pizza. Yeah.
Wow, I wouldn't have expected that.
It tells you the dough. It tells you the sauce. It tells you the cheese or the combination of cheeses. It's 100% naked. It's 100% raw. It's legit. Like that's the true story. A lot of pizza guys will say marinara because it's just bread and sauce, but the cheese is really telling. And so like in the Italian tradition, it's just buffalo milk. We were talking about this today at our meeting. It's just buffalo milk mozzarella. New York style, it's a blended cheese. Ours is a blended cheese. But I really like that. I really love that pizza. And everything else is kind of like you're in the mood for. You're in the mood for spicy, and so you go for you're in the mood for something intellectual. It's like movies. Yeah. You go for stupid movies that like you can just relax and turn off to. You go for movies that like challenge the way you think. Like, but the cheese pizza is the classic. Wherever I go, I love it.
Yeah, I guess if you could do a classic, you could
100%.
You could build from there.
Right, 100%.
And what's the most underrated ingredient?
Figs.
Okay.
I love pizza with figs on it.
Yeah, we do figs. We do a fig with gorgonzola pizza.
It's great. The saltiness and
the
exactly
sweet and salty. Exactly. Thank you. Okay. And the figs are local. They're from Liwa. Like a guest of ours has a fig farm in Liwa, and she brought us 5 kgs of figs. So we made a fig pizza to honor her, and we all fell in love with it. It's a really nice pizza. Nice.
And how do you? I guess you say you want to be in business for 20 years.
Yeah.
What's your sort of vision board for the next, it's been 6-7 years now at this point.
Right.
What's it a vision for the next 13-15 years?
So we've got, let me tell you the secrets or no?
I mean, it's up to you. It's your secrets. If you want to go ahead and reveal them.
We don't really have secrets. But we have Marmellata, which is really valuable to me and important, and it's where everything begins and ends. And conceptually, there's one Marmellata, right? Yeah. We've opened Barbassi because we're solving problems that arise in Marmellata without generating new ones. So we can't open for lunch, and we have a sandwich that sells out, and we've got 25 guys. So we created jobs for 3 of them, and we opened this restaurant that's only open during lunch, serving a product that we can't make more of. So it's a really thoughtful way of growing. We're opening a donut shop also in the MENA because nobody does fried dough balls. So we're doing fried dough balls, but the donut shop is a cover for a production kitchen. So the donut shop has got a big backside, which means we can build more. We can make more dough for Marmellata. We can make more bread for Barbassi. So we stabilize these 2 restaurants. We make them more secure. and we keep playing with dough. So we're doing this, and then we may end up doing like a pasta, more gastronomic restaurant that's in the cards, and then that's it. Like, and then we look at our guys. You know, we have people who are particularly interested in something. So if I can be a part of opening a business for one of the guys who grew out of our restaurant, that would be the icing on the cake for me.
Yeah, I mean, look, it looks like this is Marmellata is the sort of the nest egg and sort of the root in which all the other branches come from.
100%.
Right? So
yeah, exactly.
It's actually nice to see that if your employer actually one of the people that you employ now want to open a restaurant.
It's got to happen.
I mean, look, for you, that must be such a great moment just to see somebody come up through the ranks and be like, wow, you guys want to open something else, right? So that's great.
Yeah. And that's a sign of just a great leader in general, you know, so people could, whoever opens a restaurant comes from your branch. It's like, yeah, I've worked at Marmellata. I've come under the branch of Raj. It's like, it's a huge compliment.
I love it. I love it.
And just giving back in general.
I love it. And also it gives us the ability to impact the industry.
Yeah.
You know, we're not just playing with a pizzeria in the Mina, we're shifting the way the industry works. And so most guys in our industry, they work 12 hours, they work 6 or 7 days, they're disposable. It's a real disposable income. You know what I mean? Not our guys. You know, we're 5 days a week, we're 10 hours a day, and we're religious about it. Like, we try not to just be a good place to eat, but a great place to work.
I think that's that. And look, the real lifeblood of any business is not the founders; it's the people that
100%.
work, right? That keep the lights running and they keep the pizzas coming out.
Yeah.
So I mean, and just to piggyback what Mike just said, I've worked in several jobs where my boss was not happy for me to elevate in terms of the next places to go, but the ones that were happy for me to eventually moved on, got promoted, go somewhere else and whatever to a new platform. Those are the ones I still keep in touch with, and you can see that they're successful and they're not insecure in their own success.
Absolutely.
They're like the pie is big enough for everybody to eventually get here. It's not just a couple limited finite number of slices.
Right.
A quick one. Who would you cook for? Besides your family, but who's your dream, I guess, guest in your restaurant? That you would love to
that's funny, man. Someone asked me that the other day. My kid asked me that. Sebastian asked me that. Something like that. Like, who? He's like, you don't really fanboy over everybody, but if you could fanboy over somebody, who would it be? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't have that guy, you know? So there's sports people, right? Like Zinedine Zidane was a great footballer, great coach now. He's like, would I like to spend 20 minutes with that guy? Yeah, he's the guy that headbutted Materazzi, right? The World Cup and got France eliminated. Yeah, I would love to spend 10 minutes with that guy, like cook him a pizza. There are guys in the industry that make pizza that I admire. You know, Sebastian would tell you that we went to Rome together and we saw Gabriele Bonci walking down the street. This the greatest, arguably the greatest pizza maker of all time. And so he makes fun of me 5 years later because in his mind, he saw me like getting twitchy over this pizza maker. I'd love to give Bonci a pizza. You know what I mean? Somebody that I've admired or that inspired me to make pizza in the first place. Like I've cooked for the guy he worked for, right, before he became famous. So that was a pretty big moment for me. You know, I'd love for Chef Keller eventually to have our pizza. The guys from New York to be around to see what we're doing because it's like I don't know. There's this piece of DNA that we all share, and being able to see it in like fine dining and casual dining and it being a unifying factor, it'd be really neat. That'd be really neat.
You ever think about expanding past 5 pizzas and then we throw a guest 6 one?
So there's we're calling the B-sides menu. So there's 5 pizza on the menu, then there's the B-sides. The B-sides are, so we talked about it, right, the guys. So when I opened it and said, okay, we're going to expand into a proper restaurant and we're going to build a team, we hired 4 guys. And I'd have people come and interview. And I'd say, okay, let's make dough together. And they'd come in, they try to make dough. If you help me make the dough, if I was doing one step and you were automatically doing the second step, you probably had a chance of getting a job. You probably did get a job, but most guys didn't because most guys didn't know how to make the dough. But they were coming to me because they had worked in a pizzeria for 4 years. So I'm like, how can you work in a pizzeria? How does it, not the guy, but how does a pizzeria hire a guy and not teach him to make dough? And he's worked there for 4 years. So part of what we do is we say, by the time you graduate, so you sign a 2-year contract, right, in this country when you take a job. By the time you finish your 2-year contract, you'll know everything. And so the last thing in that equation is you put a pizza on the menu. So we've got a collection of pizza that are off the menu that are representing the guys. So there's an onion pizza that's made by Jeffrey. There's a Filomena that's named after Al's grandmother. That's Al's pizza. There's a carbonara that's my own. There's a paneer pizza from Susma from Nepal. So like all these places are being represented. It's a B-side menu, which means we don't have to make the same volume of them. You know what I mean? But putting those guys' pizza on the menu is really important. And so it's one of those, if you know, you know. So you come in, you see the 5 pizza, but then there's a bunch of bread that's not on the menu because we sell out of it. There's a sandwich that's not on the menu because we sell out of it. And then there's always at least 3 or 4 pizza on the B-side menu. Right? And those are representing the kitchen. Like so like a lot of chefs right now, they do collabs, right? You collaborate with other restaurants and they're popping up in other places. And I'm saying, you know what? Like, how about stay home and collab with your own team? So that's what we're trying to do. Those pizzas represent those guys in our kitchen, the best we can do with the best ingredients possible.
Maybe me and Mike can send you in a suggestion. We have an LFO pizza there for a day.
Right on. I'm in, man.
We'll send the last flight out in style.
LFO. Yeah, we'll do that. I'm in. I like it.
We'll make our own personal pizzas. I'm not sure. We go with the dough.
We'll figure it out. I'll take care of the dough.
Yeah, you gotta take care of the dough. I don't.
Yeah.
So what? I guess when you're serving a pizza, right?
Yeah.
It's not just about the food. It's being clear about the intentionality that you're trying to build this community. What's a memorable conversation that you've had with one of your guests that you can think of at the top of your head where you're just like, wow, like this pizza really made the difference in this person's day today? Like,
it happens a lot. You know, it happens partly because people come with expectations. And part of coming with expectations is you kind of want to be the guy that says, nah, it's all hype. You know what I mean? And so I think we get a stream of that. And when you accidentally convert that guy into a fan, and they were like, I'm outside. I choose to be the guy outside opening the door because we're asking guests to stand outside. You know what I mean? So if I ask you to stand outside, I better be willing to do it. So I get those comments. You know what I mean? And you get people who are confounded by it. And it's at the end of the day, it's pizza. But people are growing up, especially in this country, on bad pizza, on junk food pizza.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
And so when they taste what the real thing is supposed to taste like, sometimes it's an arresting experience. Having said that, today there are much better pizzerias. You know, Blue's just opened. Antonia is great. Pitfire is coming. Zaza's coming. Like Napo is good. Blanca I haven't been to. There's a lot of good pizza. And so as a pizza maker, I'm really glad for that. Like the city has grown tremendously, and our collection of pizza makers is infinitely bigger and better than it was 5 years ago. And the opportunities for our guys to get better jobs are there. So some of those like flavor points, they're like, man, how'd you come up with hot honey? I'm like, bro, they've been doing hot honey like for donkeys years. Yeah.
For a long,
And then
long
I can tell you
time.
the whole lineage. There's a guy called Angelo who invented it at Roberta's in New York like 1,000 years ago. But it goes back. So I'm carrying that piece of history, and I carry it with respect. Like, and he was here 2 years ago because there was a pop up for Scars, great, incredible New York pizza, and he was here. That was a fanboy moment because Angelo was here, and he's like.
Right. Yeah.
He's the guy that invented hot honey. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So anyway, so sometimes I get those compliments, and those compliments feel really good because you can feel that they're heartfelt. It isn't somebody that's like repeating what they've heard. It's someone who's felt something, and our team might have said something to them, or they might have heard something and made a joke, or their kid might have been uncomfortable and they made them comfortable, not because they were told to, but because it comes natural. And so when you get that kind of like off the cuff feedback, it feels really good. Yeah. That feels like success. You know what I mean? And that feels like a restaurant. Like the word restaurant is to restore. So you're restoring people. So you're having a bad day, you come. We can't flip your day, but we can make this 1 hour the best hour possible. You know what I mean? And that's it. Like it's really humble. It's really. That's the beauty of a restaurant.
One point, when I went for the first time, I was definitely the person I was like, this has to be hype because it tastes like the real thing. I was hearing it from him. I was like, I'm from New York, born and raised on.
Yeah.
And I took a bite and I was like, I'm a fan. I love this. Like it is legit the real thing. It tastes like being back home, like in Brooklyn somewhere or in downtown Manhattan.
Yeah, see, that feels really good. Like that's really nice.
Yeah.
So we're conscious of your time, but before we let you go, we got to ask the iconic question. What was your last flight out? So what was that pivot moment where you're like, okay, I'm establishing myself in the UAE as a top restaurant? What was that moment for you?
Without sounding phony, I don't think we've hit it. You know what I mean? Because I told you I'm working 12, 15-hour days still. So I always think like our best day is ahead of us. So we used to make 50 pizza. I thought we were busy. We all thought we were busy. We were busy. I mean, that took all of us. We were working as hard as we make 500 pizza now. And I think we're busy. So then I step back and I go, but are we busy? You know what I mean? I don't know what God's plan is. I don't know what it is that we're working towards, but I feel like we're working towards something pretty great. And I don't necessarily need to know what it is, but I know that my part is to do this as good as I can. And the way that it's turning out is my role is to build the team. And so I'm taking that on board where it started out as the family that I was born into, and it's progressing into the family that I've chosen to surround myself with. So that team continues to grow. And my role, like we had TV cameras in there last night, and they're like, can you come back here and make a pizza? Like, no, I can't come make a pizza. These guys make the pizza. Like, they're the pizza makers now, and they probably make it better than I do. You know what I mean? I'm not going to come back. It would be disrespecting them at this point. Yeah. So my role is to build a team, and being conscious of that is something that's coming to me with opening Barbassi downstairs, with talking about donuts, and with saying, like, how do we make this thing better? How do we shift the industry? how do we impact other people's ability to do what they want to do at the same time, and being embraced by the community to say, yeah, this I'm being pushed towards that role. You having me here, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's about making pizza, but it's also not about making pizza. It's about sharing ideas and time, and I say something to you, and it inspires new thoughts for me, which is really really profound.
It's a creative exchange,
right?
Like, this is what it's all about, like just collaborating. And Raj, thank you so much for being here today. Man. How about you tell the audience where they can find you, anything you have coming up, anything you want to say about the restaurant or restaurants now that you have, and we can let you go along your way because we want to go eat.
I want to feed you. It's a match.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I just say thank you. We're in the MENA. We're open 5 days a week. Marmellata, it's 4 o'clock to 9:30 right now. Those hours could shift in the winter. Maybe we stay later. We'll see how it goes. Barbassia is at M39. M39 is an opportunity because it's a creative community that's emerging in the newest of the newest neighborhoods here. Yep. And it's growing with the intentionality of being somewhere special. So for us to be able to feed people to do their best work in a creative community, it like connects the dots of my history being an artist. So I'm proud to be representing the food here. We're busy, alhamdulillah. I hope it stays that way. You're all welcome all the time. I love it. I love what I do. I love being here. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, pleasure.
And thank you again for tuning in. You can find us at Last Fight Out Podcast. Of course, all of our social media channels. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share the video as well. You can find me, Jay, at JLubriel26 across all of my social media channels. And you can find Mike at
If Mike Was Here.
Thanks again for tuning in. See you next week, everyone.
My life too pristine.
Man, you didn't have to do them like that, man. You didn't have to do them like that.
It was film day.
Yeah.
We gotta make a statement.
Exactly. We gotta make a statement.
What's going on, man?
Flat out.